It started with a snap of defiance and a jab at MMA bravado. Conor Benn, reeling from his first career loss to Chris Eubank Jr., stepped out of his recovery to throw down a gauntlet. Even before that rematch in November, fully charged and healing, he trained and spoke with raw intensity. He said anyone from UFC who thinks they can try their luck in boxing, bare knuckle or gloved, can come and get it. Especially Ilia Topuria. But when it came to stepping into the cage, Ben laughed. He admitted he'd get his RZ handed to him. That part he's not stupid enough to test. What does this moment tell us? It's more than swagger. It's a spotlight on the fault lines between boxing and MMA, two worlds that mix curiosity, respect, and competition in volatile ways. Ben isn't looking to prove he can do MMA. He wants to guard boxing's sanctity. He senses something bothersome in MMA fighters crossing over, underestimating how elite boxing truly is. He calls it a effing liberty, daring them to challenge him where he's strongest, his own turf. To understand how loaded this is, consider the timing. Ben's unanimous one defeat didn't break him, it gave him momentum. He's scheduled for a rematch in November against Eubank Jr., and already training fierce, reminding the world that redemption is his aim. But instead of playing it safe, he chose to ignite headlines. It says something. Instead of hiding behind a ring rope, he leans into battle even as he heals. Then there's Ilia Topuria, undefeated, two-division UFC champ, pound-for-pound king, and a fighter many compare to Conor McGregor at his peak. He's a knockout artist, but also an intelligent striker who rarely throws kicks. The punching power is legitimate. Some say he's poised to cross into boxing next. Rumors swirl that he'd want to fight the winner of Canelo versus Crawford. That makes Ben's challenge even sharper. He's pushing right at that moment of fascination around crossover star power. He's saying, if you want this fight, I'll prove the rules matter and I'll be ready. It's tempting to write this off as bravado or clickbait. But look closer, there's rhythm here. A fighter reframing his narrative after a loss. A looming rematch that increases tension, and Ben's refusal to enter MMA, while offering it all on his terms, reframes him not as the scared one, but the confident guardian of boxing tradition. It's not just defensive, it's provocative in a strategic way. Public reaction is split. Some fans mock Ben's timing, calling it post-loss head games or money grabbing. Others salute the guts. It takes confidence to talk like that when you've just lost. On boxing forums, you'll even see lines like, Ben is just money grabbing again, and would Topuria actually take that fight? But some fans comment that Topuria's striking is far smarter than people give him credit for. One voice called him a legitimately skilled, disciplined martial artist, not just an MMA crossover novelty. That commentary layers the challenge. It isn't necessarily laughable. Beyond the trash talk, this spotlight moment taps into the rise of crossover fights. Ever since McGregor versus Mayweather, fans crave sport-blending supermatches. But most of those have favored boxing rules, fighters stepping into boxing to chase paydays. Then draws attention to that one-way street and asks why no one wants to return the favor. It opens a deeper conversation around fairness, risk, and respect. When MMA moves into boxing, they get legit fights that draw huge paydays. But when boxers go MMA, they often fall quickly. Ben is using that imbalance to stoke the fire. Topuria, meanwhile, remains under pressure. He's focused on UFC legacy. But if boxing ever calls, will he answer? He's already gaining momentum in the boxing rumor mill, eyeing marquee fight money. But he'd need UFC's approval, and his own priorities might lie elsewhere. And Ben's call-out. Whether Topuria actually takes it or not, he's been thrown into the conversation, and that carries value. From a practical standpoint, a Ben Topuria boxing fight has marketing written all over it. Two young, undefeated-ish fighters. National and crossover appeal. Huge contrast. Ben's heritage and his recent loss adds emotional weight. Topuria's mystique and knockout power adds hype. Promoters would salivate. But Ben knows reality. He won't step into MMA. No contract would let that happen anyway. He just wants the clip of submission. I've got these hands, brother. There's strategic brilliance in that. Ben keeps the talking points alive between now and his Eubank Jr. rematch. He's staying relevant, his name in headlines. So even if the crossover never happens, Ben wins the headline war. And if Topuria bites, he gets big-time money. If not, he still elevated his profile with zero risk. That's smart self-promotion. Expanding the lens again, this moment reflects a wider shift. With Dana White launching Zuffa Boxing under the TKO banner, MMA and boxing promotions are blending. Yet Ben's call-out reminds us that blending shouldn't break rules. MMA adapting boxing rules works Mayweather versus McGregor. Boxers entering MMA don't usually flourish. So where's the reciprocity? Ben's pointing that out and forcing it into conversation. Imagine the November rematch between Ben and Eubank Jr. ending in redemption for Ben. His stock would rise. He'd come in healed, resurgent, and still talking big. Then that clip of him calling out Topuria becomes not post-loss bravado, but pre-comeback prophecy. People would say he remade himself and stayed confident. That builds myth, and myths sell fights. Or suppose Ben loses again. Then that crossover call-out becomes painful like a last gasp. But even then, the clip lives on. Maybe he pivots back into topics of boxing's pride or stays as the boxer who dared to voice it. Either way, the moment isn't trivial. It charges a narrative across both boxing and MMA, questioning assumptions. It dares rival fighters to step up, but only on terms Ben sets. It amplifies his voice when silence could have been safe. It bridges his loss and his attempt at redemption. It casts boxing as a domain that must be defended, not surrendered. For audiences, it's cinematic. After a devastating loss, the fallen star fires back, not against his rival, but against cultural crossovers. It gives Ben layers: fighter, protector, provocateur. It gives fans something to argue about, whether they lean MMA or boxing. It draws UFC watchers to boxing channels and boxing fans to UFC storylines. It sells fear, respect, challenge, and territory all at once. And in the middle of it all is Ilia Topuria, undefeated, hungry, possibly open to crossover. Ben's clip doesn't just challenge, it invites. If you got the power, meet me at the ring. Whether that happens or not, the moment will echo. Boxing fans will remember the dare. MMA watchers will know Topuria got mentioned. The story stretches beyond a single fight. It defines how two sports with separate histories collide in the modern media world. So when Ben says, "I ain't stupid enough to go in the cage," it sounds like a punchline. But really, it's a statement of confidence and identity. He stands firm in his craft. He protects the ring. He fuels the narrative. And he makes fans lean in, already asking, will anyone take it? Let Ben heal. Let the rematch happen. But this challenge, it's now part of Ben's story, and one worth watching closely.